Make more good in the all-new Sportage X-Pro. Kia, movement that inspires.
Quaker Steak and Lube is throwing open the garage doors and setting up the umbrellas. It's patio season. Come enjoy great food, drinks, and fun in the sun. There's always something happening at Quaker Steak and Lube, but we're really amping up our event calendars for our favorite time of year. Visit thelube.com to find out what's happening at your local lube this season. Lunch, happy hour, dinner, or late night, indoors or outside, at Quaker Steak and Lube, you'll always find big flavors, friendly faces, and lots of fun.
What's the best mid-size pickup? Tacoma. What's the #1 mid-size truck in resale value? Tacoma. Want to get great gas mileage, 4 doors, and 4-wheel drive? Tacoma. Sioka Toyota of Williamsport has over 25 available right now. You can lease a brand new, never-driven Toyota Tacoma for just $379 a month. That's 30 months, 3,000 cash or trade, 10,000 miles a year. This is while supplies last. Buy yours or reserve yours today and see the Sioka difference. And remember, tell them Johnny's saying.
And we welcome you into another edition of the Lion Country Kia Goon and Ironhead show here at Quaker Steak and Lube as we get ready for what is going to be a pretty wild weekend in Penn State sports. And really, it's been just a really neat year for Penn State sports. A lot of good things happening. Men's volleyball team winning the Outrigger tournament down in Hawaii, knocking off the top-ranked Hawaii team en route to that title. You have the women's gymnastics team posting its highest score in, I think it was 5 or 6 years. And then, obviously, the basketball team on a tear heading into the NCAA tournament. And darn near rallied to win the Big Ten championship over Purdue, but it has been a great ride here with Micah Shrewsbury and his squad, and we'll get into that a little bit later. Some interesting matchups there, but we'll start previewing the Penn State Wrestling team, and the NCAA tournament is upon us. It'll get underway here on Thursday afternoon at 12 noon Eastern time, and 9 Nittany Lions are making the trip. And Goon, it's a nice situation if you're a Penn State fan, because I think you can legitimately believe that all 9 of those guys could get on the podium, and probably at least 6, maybe as many as 7, maybe more than that, could contend for national titles this year for Penn State. But to me, this tournament is going to be really, really interesting, both from a Penn State perspective and just a national perspective in terms of potential individual matchups, storylines to watch, both individually and team-wise. And I just think, again, there's a lot of things that this tournament has the potential to bring fans that is very, very exciting.
Yeah. I mean, as the novice guy of the group, I'm looking forward to it. I mean, if the Big Tens were any kind of indication of how the Nationals are going to be, it's going to be absolutely amazing. And I mean amazing because of all the guys that are out there wrestling and the where it's at. I mean, I tried to get you to talk the other day. I mean, it just seemed like Michigan wrestled so much better last year because we were in Detroit. I mean, they had a lot of hometown fans there. There was a lot of they were juiced up with their crowd. So I'm wondering if Oklahoma State's going to have a nice little pump or jump from being the host, or is Tulsa the host? Who was actually the host of the tournament?
Yeah, it's in Tulsa, but I mean it's in Oklahoma State's backyard. I think the fact that and Oklahoma State qualified all 10. I do think the race, to me, going in, yep, Penn State is a significant favorite. Iowa, to me, looks like a pretty solid number 2, and Missouri looks like a pretty solid number 3. Mm-hmm. Wouldn't be shocked if Missouri can track down Iowa, and I don't think it'd be the craziest thing we've ever seen if either of those teams, if Penn State has an off weekend, races in there and captures the title. But those 3, to me, going in, it feels like have kind of established themselves as those top 3 teams.
Okay.
After that, to me, it is really interesting, and it's not that any of those teams are locks where they're at, but I think you have probably 6-7 teams that are in the mix then, to me, for that 4 or 5 spot. And it's the top 4 teams that will get awards at the championships. And so I think that battle for 4th is really intriguing. I think you have Iowa State and Oklahoma State for sure in that mix. Cornell, Nebraska is certainly a team that I think maybe I would favor right now to be that number 4 team. I think both Virginia Tech and NC State out of the ACC are really dangerous teams that can make that kind of a run. And then I don't know about making a run to number 4, but still battling for probably a top 10 spot and maybe as high as 5th or 6th. I would throw into the mix of teams we just mentioned, Michigan and Ohio State. Northwestern could be a really good tournament team. Arizona State is a team that I think is worth watching. Oregon State has a nice balanced lineup. I don't know if they have the top end firepower, but we'll see. Maybe a couple of their kids can surprise and wrestle higher than their seeds, and they can get in that mix. So,
and you said it. You said the exact words. If Penn State has an off weekend, have you ever seen that?
Not at the NCAA tournament under Cal.
Yeah.
I mean,
obviously, nothing is not. It's not guaranteed.
No, but the thing with Penn State is, if everybody wrestled 2 spots below their seeds, Penn State's still likely going to win the national title. So, it would take a really off weekend. But you have 3 freshmen in the lineup. You have Max Dean, who's coming off, a tough loss at the Big Tens, and he might not be sure where his head's at. And upsets happen along the way. I think going in, you feel very, very good about Roman Bravo Young, Carter Starachi, and Aaron Brooks and their chances of winning individual titles. Again, nothing guaranteed, but those 3, I'd be very surprised if those 3 didn't at least get to the title bout on Saturday night. And there's just more depth, as we've talked about throughout the season. I just think top to bottom, this is probably Cal's strongest team.
Wow.
In that, I think there are 9 legit All-American contenders, and I think Penn State will get at least 7 or 8 on the podium. And if you get that combination of 3, and I almost said just 3 into the finals, and 8 on the podium, you're winning the national title.
Yep. And what's Penn State's record for most? How many All-Americans in one season?
I think 7's the most Penn State's had in 1 year.
Now, Minnesota was the last team to have 10, right? Was that J-Rob?
The only team to have 10.
That's so cool, dude. That is such a cool stat.
Yeah.
Every one of their guys. And they didn't win any nationals, right? They won the nationals, but they didn't. None of them won a national
individual
title.
Won a
that
title.
Was crazy, but they won a national title. That none of their guys won a individual, but they won a team. Very impressive.
Yep.
So, this is – I love going to this because of just the sheer magnitude of how many people are there, what they're there for, and just like it's – I call it Groundhog Day because you wake up, you wrestle, you go drink, and then you go go drink and watch wrestling, and then you get done, you go drink, and then you go drink and watch wrestling again twice a day for 3 straight days. And
that's not been my experience.
That's not been your experience. Somebody here has to work. Geez, Jeff, jeez. So, that's I love it because it brings all these people together, and your wrestling community is really, really, really strong. Well, everybody knows everybody type of thing, and everybody has a backstory, and it's all pretty damn cool, man.
Well, and that is the neat thing to me about the national tournament, and you look forward to it every year, obviously, because you want to see how your team and your kids do, but also it's just that celebration of the sport and coming together with a bunch of other people who share that passion.
And it is a passion.
And there's an energy off of the tournament there. And I've talked about this with Cale Sanderson and others who have been in, the Olympic arena and the World Championships. And listen, that is a bigger deal in the overall scheme of things. There's no denying that. But the energy that is in that building for the NCAA championships and the feeling that you have about that sport is not outdone anywhere, including the Olympics. There's just an energy that you can feel and that the athletes feed off of, and it's a magical type of thing. If you've never been and you have any interest in wrestling, I would really encourage you. I still remember the first time I ever went. It was down at Maryland And I can still remember vividly just it was a surreal feeling because at that point I had only, listened to it on the radio. Had seen, in those days it was a highlight here or there that they would throw into the ABC Wide World of Sports package. I mean, you weren't even getting matches on a regular basis, and so it was really, really cool to be in the venue and to be able to see it. And same thing. You'd go to the restaurant and table behind you has a bunch of Iowa fans at it. The table over here has a bunch of
there's angst,
Maryland
but there's
fans.
Also there's a lot of angst between the teams and the fans, but there's still a respect.
Yeah,
and it's very cool. I mean, again, they all have the same thing in common. Like when the Stanford thing came up 2 years ago, how the wrestling community rallied around and got that Stanford to save their program. That's what I'm talking about, right, Stanford?
Yep.
Yeah, how the community rallied around it just that tells you what kind of people they are and how they want their sport to grow. And I mean, it just seems like, at any time you can see any of these guys and you're like, wow, I know that guy. Holy crap, that's Cale Sanderson. Or that's so-and-so, or that's so-and-so. And I love the 3 big flags on the wall, the only 4-time national title winners. I love that one, the big ones that hang. Now, this is I'm thinking I was in Cleveland, Pittsburgh, Detroit, and then now. That's probably about right. It's probably my 5th one, but we had one miss, right?
Yep.
There was one that didn't do it. But that was Minnesota. That was the football stadium one.
Yeah.
We weren't going to that one, I don't think. That's right. So this is my 5th. I look forward to it every year. I go with Dave Krall, the head coach down in the Allentown area, the high school coach, all-time winningest coach in Pennsylvania. He's in our crew, and it's just fun. Every year, my buddy Austin, he tries to bring somebody new along that doesn't really understand it or doesn't really not a big wrestling fan. Like this year, OJ McDuffie's coming. I mean, OJ's a super huge Penn State fan, but I doubt he really knows anything about wrestling. But you watch. You talk to me this time next year, you're going to hear OJ's going. He's going back. Because it's just fun to watch. And, again, we're in a pretty damn good place for if you want to go and watch great wrestling. Your team is the best team out there, and that's obviously a big bonus in the whole thing. And you can walk around there proud as hell, proud as a peacock out there with your Penn State gear.
Yeah, and there's a lot of great storylines going into the tournament, both from Penn State and nationally. I mean, Spencer Lee going for a 4th title, Yanni Giacomahala's going for a 4th title.
I can't believe he's still there.
Nationally, 197 to me is as wide open a weight as I can remember in a long time. I mean, I really think there's probably at least 10 and maybe more than that guys that you look at it, and realistically, if they get hot at the tournament, they could be on top of the podium. And Max Dean is certainly one of those for Penn State. But I just think that weight class is going to be really interesting to watch, and it'll be fascinating to see who ends up getting to the semis on Friday night and then the finals on Saturday night, and who wins it. And really not far behind that would be 157 and 165. I mean, David Carr is clearly the favorite 165, but you have a whole lot of guys that I think are, in the race right behind him. And, I don't think he's invincible, but I think, he's obviously going to be very tough to beat. I think 149 and 157 are the other 2 weights that are just going to be really fascinating to watch. I think 141 is pretty open as well. And then, Roman Bravo Young and Dayton Fix, if they both do what most of us are expecting them to do, get to the finals, round 3 in what is, I think, one of the great series in NCAA finals history if we get that 3rd chapter this year. Yep.
Do you know how they adjust the schedule sometimes to make the biggest match of the night be last? Is that on the table, do you think? Because I think that the wrestling, the heavyweight is still pretty damn good.
Yeah, I mean, I would think, yes. To me, I just don't know that there's an appreciation. I'm maybe there is. I hope there is an appreciation for how remarkably good Dayton Fix is.
Yeah.
I mean, you're talking about a guy who has had all kinds of international success as well as all kinds of success on the collegiate level here. He's probably the top prospect coming out of high school. And it's not that he hasn't lived. I mean, he's been to 3 NCAA finals. I mean, you can't say that he's disappointing, but if he ends his collegiate career without an NCAA title, it'll be just very surprising because, again, he has done just about everything else in the sport. So to me, Roman and Dayton, if they do meet in the finals, would be the most intriguing head-to-head matchup. If Kirkfleet gets to the finals with Paris, that is certainly going
correct.
to be.
And that's game 7, right? Because they're 3-3 each other. That's pretty damn cool.
So that would be a lot of fun to watch. And listen, you have the potential at other weights. For 165, you could have 2 previous national champions meeting in the finals. At 174, you could have 2 previous champions meeting in the finals. So
cool.
There's a lot of potentially intriguing championship bouts. Would you put Spencer Lee going for his 4th?
Yeah.
Against an undefeated Pat Glory, if that is the finals matchup there, as your featured bout. I mean, I could make the argument probably for 4 or 5 weight classes.
If you start at 141 and go up, your last 3 matches are heavyweight, Spencer Lee, fixed RBY. That'd be pretty damn good.
Pretty special stuff. Yeah.
I mean, they can do that, right? They have done it. They did it for David.
Yeah. No, they absolutely could.
And they usually just do half and half, right? Or they'll start it. They can do any weight like that how does that affect the wrestler? Like, especially he's always known to just go out there to be the first guy to set the tone for his Iowa team. Would that affect him having to go 8th?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think so, but yeah, I mean, it's different for sure.
But you want that. You want that spotlight on you. I mean, that's the thing. I mean, you want that last match, in my opinion. The place is going crazy.
Yeah, I think all wrestlers would. Yeah, that would be a cool.
That would be pretty cool if they go heavyweight, start at 141, go heavyweight, especially then RBY. That would be freaking amazing. Well, fixed RBY. So now, is there?
So if that was the case, and you'd start the tournament, the final session with Bo Bartlett's big upset of Real Woods,
there you
and
go.
Then you'd end with Roman winning. What was that?
Absolutely over Iowa too. What the hell was I going to say? Damn it! ADD again. Jesus.
Well, but I do think there are some great storylines from Penn State's perspective. Levi Haynes is certainly going to be the wrestler that I think everybody is keeping his eye on.
My question is, there's a little bit of angst of RBY and Spencer Lee. There is talk of them getting together, meet at a certain weight later, right? There is a little animosity between the two. Is that just because it's Penn State, Iowa? Now, where does Fix fall into that? Does Fix fall into that? They're rivals with RBY or Spencer Lee type of thing? I mean, it's different conferences and all that stuff. So
yeah, Fix and Roman. I mean, the rivalry has been in the NCAA finals, and it's been 2 great bouts in the first 2 meetings. So yeah, I mean, I think they could meet again later in freestyle, and Spencer Lee is one of the all-time greats in the sport. There's no doubt about that.
He's just rubs me wrong. Always does. Every time I see him, he has that little attitude. Well, it was a couple of years ago. He had his bandana on the bench, and he looked like he was Mr. Tough Guy and all. Like, you weigh 125 pounds, man.
Well, he has been taken to his back twice during the season.
You did say that off the air last week, Jeffrey.
As much as I think he is the rightful favorite, and I'm not expecting him to lose. He just has a way of cranking it up when he needs to as well. I do think there is that feeling that if you could score early on him and then keep it close going to the 3rd period, right, and push him for the 7 minutes, that there is a path to victory there. It's a very difficult path, and obviously nobody's been able to do it yet.
You're the one who said he comes out at you so hard.
Yeah, I think Pat Glory is a guy, if that is the finals, I think that is going to be a really interesting matchup to see what Glory does from a strategy standpoint. in particular in that first period? How much do you try to engage him? How much do you try to, just get that first takedown? It'll be a very interesting only from the standpoint of how is it that Glory approaches that bout and what is his strategy for trying to pull off what would be one of the bigger upsets in college wrestling.
Any other ones that you foresee?
Well, the path for Levi Haynes is really fascinating. I mean, the expectations now are kind of through the roof for a true freshman, and and he is 18 years old. This is not a kid that was held back or anything like that. I mean, this is a kid that is age-wise probably should be a senior in high school this year. And what he did against Peyton Robb, again, to me is as amazing as anything we've seen in college wrestling this season. But his path, if the seeds hold, his path to win a title would be to go through Bryce Andonian, who to me is one of the most exciting wrestlers in college wrestling. He had a really fun tournament last season, and it's a great watch out of Virginia Tech.
Okay, Valtech.
And I think that style matchup, and it could end up being a 2-1 bout for sure, but that one has the potential to be like a 14-12 type of show between Haynes and Andonian. Then you would have a rematch with Peyton Robb, which would be must-see wrestling. And then, again, if the seeds hold, you would then have number one Austin O'Connor, a national champion at 149 previously from North Carolina. That is one heck of a way to win a national title if that is, what ends up happening.
18 years old.
For Levi Haynes. And, again, he's just fun to watch, regardless of how what the tournament ultimately brings him or he brings to it. His future obviously is very bright, and he's just one of those guys that all of the eyes in the arena, you just can't help but you start looking at let's watch this guy for a little while. So, to me, it's going to be interesting to see how Bo Bartlett does at 41 and how the two redshirt freshmen, Shane Van Ness and Alex Facundo, do as 13 seeds, because I think they're both capable of getting on the podium and placing highly, but they're also both in strong enough weight classes that, hey, one move here or there, they could have 1 and 2 and done type of tournaments. So, we'll see. There's a lot of intrigue and a lot of possibilities, and that's always the fun part about this tournament is you try to envision, hey, if everything goes right, wow, this could be an all-time performance. And you want to see obviously the kids just go out and be able to perform at their best, and Penn State has done a better job of that than anybody in the country, really since Cal's been here, but in particular since 2016. It is astounding the numbers that Penn State has put up in the semifinals and finals especially.
It's insane.
Yep, we'll look forward to it. Again, action gets underway Thursday at 12 noon Eastern time, and we'll wrap up Saturday night.
Groundhog Day.
And, we'll see.
I do have to tell you my one wrestling story.
Yeah.
And I love this one. It's I've told it to you before, but I remember when they line up all 16 competitors on the wall and they run them out to their matches or the 8 matches, so 16 guys. So 2 lines of 8, and I'm sitting next to Nate Carr, Sr. Nate is David's father, and an All-American, all Olympic wrestling, all that stuff. So he's royalty in wrestling.
Yeah.
And I said, Nate, and you remember telling me the story. I said, Nate, how much shit talking's going on in there with those 16 guys? And he was like, I doubt anybody's saying a word. And I said, that's unbelievable to me, because I know if you put 2 football teams next to each other, I say it all the time, the littlest guy, the third-string cornerback, over there yapping his mouth, and the big guys start fighting. But it's just unbelievable the respect that goes on between that. He goes, he said the difference in football and wrestling is you got 100 guys behind you. When you're a wrestler, you got 1 versus 100. And I was like, it's pretty good. That's pretty good thinking, man.
Yeah.
So I do look forward to that. I can't wait to see it. And again, it is a fun time out there getting to see people. And There is a lot of football with wrestling backgrounds. Lots of guys. You see more and more NFL guys coming back and going to these tournaments, going to the Nationals every year.
Yeah.
I know that the kid from the Chiefs, Creed Humphrey, will be out there this year. He was a wrestler. His dad was a wrestler at, I believe, Central Oklahoma. So he's going to be out there. I know that Alec Gretty from the Chiefs, he'll be out there. He's been out there before, I've seen. And a lot of the guys in the NFL have wrestling backgrounds. So we always talk. There is a football flair to it, actually, but it is all about the wrestling, and it's very cool to see them all and see all these guys and see how people just get excited for it. And like, this is some people's vacation. Like you used to say, like my mom and dad, with our vacation every year was going to one of our bowl games. I mean, that's a lot of people in Penn State do that, but this is a lot of people's trips. Their away trip is to go to watch the Nationals, so it's pretty awesome, very intense, and very cool. So,
yep, should be a whole lot of fun.
Hopefully, you were somewhat away from a bloody nose area, Ironhead. No binoculars. I guess you did say you like the binoculars better, actually. You can see more.
Yeah, as long as I can see all the mats.
There you go.
I'm content.
Have you been to this arena?
No.
How old is it? Does you know anything about it?
I'm not sure how old it is, no.
I mean, Cleveland was beat up pretty good. Pittsburgh was beat up very good. That was the PPG, so that was the new one. So that was actually very nice. Interesting to see, because I'm telling you, last year Detroit was the best arena I've ever been in for anything in my life. So we'll jump off here for a hot second, come back with our guests now, man.
Sounds good.
Make more good in the all-new Sportage X-Pro. Kia, movement that inspires.
Quaker Steak and Lube is throwing open the garage doors and setting up the umbrellas. It's patio season. Come enjoy great food, drinks, and fun in the sun. There's always something happening at Quaker Steak and Lube, but we're really amping up our event calendars for our favorite time of year. Visit thelube.com to find out what's happening at your local lube this season. Lunch, happy hour, dinner, or late night, indoors or outside, at Quaker Steak and Lube, you'll always find big flavors, friendly faces, and lots of fun.
What's the best mid-size pickup? Tacoma. What's the #1 mid-size truck in resale value? Tacoma. Want to get great gas mileage, 4 doors, and 4-wheel drive? Tacoma. Sioka Toyota of Williamsport has over 25 available right now. You can lease a brand new, never-driven Toyota Tacoma for just $379 a month. That's 30 months, 3,000 cash or trade, 10,000 miles a year. This is while supplies last. Buy yours or reserve yours today and see the Sioka difference. And remember, tell them Johnny sent you.
And we are back here at Quaker Steak and Lube. Dear Goon, we're ready to talk some hoops and football.
Absolutely, baby.
Can always talk some football.
I mean, how about talking basketball right now in March? I mean, what a weekend. We had our show last week, and we were like, we got to get that win against Illinois tonight. And here we go. They go and take the – I mean, they were close. 16 down, and they only lose by 1 or 2 yesterday in the final against Purdue the other day. That's just unbelievable to me, the run that they put on. So I know me and Aeneas watched a couple games together. So
yep.
I mean, you know these guys. These guys are your age. And,
yeah, man. It's cool to see. I think about Miles Dredd specifically, a guy that was in my recruiting class. I know how hard those guys work, how bad those guys have wanted to be good for so long. And, to see a guy like Miles specifically at the end of his career be able to go out in March Madness, that's a dream come true for those guys. So, thrilled to see him doing so well.
That's very good. Very nice.
Yeah,
so if there doesn't know, this is Aeneas Hawkins right here. He's co-host with me on the Blue White Players show on Monday nights during the football season. So last year you retired, right? You're 1 year out, right?
Yep. Last game was the Outback Bowl. Retired. Got to watch the Rose Bowl from my couch. I always make the joke.
I didn't ask you. You said you were going to go.
What to the Rose Bowl?
You said you were going to go to the Rose Bowl.
I was going to. Then I started looking up the prices of being out in California, and I said, you know what?
Then you're like, wait, I'm not on the charter anymore.
Yeah,
I'm not getting the check.
I don't get that check anymore. So ESPN made do. I always make the joke. If I would have known they'd have been in the Rose Bowl, I'd have toughed it out with these bad knees one more year and made the trip. But it's all right.
Very true.
All right. I hear you guys talking wrestling over here, man. I got a little Aaron Brooks story. That's my guy. Love Aaron Brooks.
Now, what's his name? PJ is a big wrestling guy.
PJ Mustafer, yes,
two-time wrestler.
So PJ is my best friend, roommates for a few years, 2-time state champ, all of that. So he got me into Penn State Wrestling. We'd sit down and watch the tournaments together all the time. Aaron Brooks, when he had first gotten here, obviously had a lot of respect for him as an athlete and as a wrestler, but I also had 100 pounds for him. That was heavier than him by, and I figured, I'm a tough guy. I train, I'm an athlete. And that kid slammed me at a party in front of all my buddies. And that'll be the last time I mess with a wrestler. You talk about legendary wrestler, football player combos. My cousin, Carlton Haselring.
Correct.
Bunch of national championships, played football, wrestled. So I figured, okay, it's in the blood. I'm fine with Aaron Brooks. And that was a lie. Apple fell far from the tree on that one, man.
That's unbelievable.
Yeah, Aaron's a little different level.
Different
than even some of the really good ones that are out there.
No doubt about it.
This basketball team, it is really unbelievable when you think about it, what they have done down the stretch and through the Big Ten tournament. And, listen, momentum is only as good as your next 5 minutes, right? So,
correct.
No bold predictions here, but I will say I do kind of like the matchup. I know Texas A&M is a great team, but I love this matchup for Penn State in the first round. And I got to tell you, Texas is, again, a great team. But Texas isn't better than Purdue, right?
No doubt.
I think there is I don't think it's an unreasonable path to the Sweet 16 for this Penn State team. I really don't.
Now, I could also see this, too. I don't want to be the guy who's
here we go.
Pissing on a parade here.
Go ahead.
You know what I mean? You've seen a lot of time people make runs in their conference tournaments and they get real hot. Then they get a couple days off and they come back and play in the tournament, make the tournament, and they crap the bed. So either way, I'm not going to be surprised. But also, we really weren't hitting many threes yesterday.
Well, I think one of the keys here is how Micah Shrewsbury handles this 3 days in between.
I'm pretty sure they're off today
because they need to be off for a couple of days. Basically off for a couple of days because that to me is the biggest concern. And that's for any team in the tournament. When you get to that championship game, and especially, even Purdue, 3 days in a row is a lot of basketball. But when you're, 4 or more, those legs, that to me is the biggest thing for Penn State. Is because I did think some of those guys looked a little tired in that Purdue game in particular. But even going back to Saturday, I thought, some of the shots that you're used to falling. I think that the
Pickett
legs have something to do with that.
Pickett specifically, he was short on a lot of stuff.
A lot of shots.
So, let's say this about Purdue. They played the last 2 games. They played Saturday and Sunday against teams who had been playing 4 straight days. So, I'm not going to say that Purdue was maybe a little overmatched, but I don't think they're going to make as big a run as people are talking about.
They're not going as deep as people are saying, I don't think.
The 7'4" guy is tough to contain.
He's tough to deal with. I'll say this. I didn't realize how quick of a turnaround it was. Those guys are getting back on the plane tomorrow to head right back out and get ready for March Madness. That's a heck of a turnaround. Obviously, football being a little different. You couldn't play more than once a week, even if you wanted to. No. But, even as a basketball player, to play so many games consecutively and then to have to go back into March Madness and boot right back up is, that's a tough schedule.
And get in the Thursday game, which would have been nice getting a Friday game, get another extra day. Granted, it's a late game, later at night. Again, we've talked about it for a lot of times, Jeffrey, and that is if they're hitting, nobody they can run with anybody. Anybody. And who knows how good the SEC is? The SEC got a couple good teams and this and that, but some people are thinking maybe the Big Ten's overranked, but maybe the Big Ten's not overrated. Maybe the SEC is. We don't know. It'll be interesting, very interesting to see. I did text Pat Kraft on Sunday morning. And I said, there's not enough on your platter right now, but now you got to worry about getting Shrewsbury a new contract.
Yeah.
And the word I got back was, that's a first world problem. That's a good thing. That's a good thing to have.
Yeah.
So, and
and let's talk about that for just a second, because what at this point in time, what does Georgetown have that Penn State doesn't? For
I had this conversation the other
coach?
day. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I know they have a lot of rich alums, and they want to get their basketball program back, but I mean, they really don't have any other sports. I mean, no.
But I mean, even from a basketball standpoint, right now with the momentum now that Shrewsbury's established here,
I mean, they're going to throw a bag of money at them. Is what they're going to do, and that's going to be up to Penn State to match or get close to it. I think that's the only way. Because if they come at them with big money, I mean, what are you going to do? I mean, but we're making big money right now. We're in the playoff. We're in the dance. I mean, that's going to be a nice little bump for the athletic department, a huge bump for the athletic department.
Yeah, I mean, Notre Dame to me is, that would be the bigger concern to me. I just can't see Shrewsbury jumping to Georgetown. I just don't see that as being right now in this world a step up for him.
That was the first thing I thought, Jeff.
Notre Dame
really was.
Yeah, Notre Dame is more debatable as to whether or not it's a step up, and I think with his background and the Indiana component there, that to me is the school that you need to be more worried about. If I would think if you're Penn State in terms of him making a jump.
Well, we're going to know very soon how committed Penn State University is to this basketball program.
We're going to find out quick.
You're really going to get a good understanding. I mean, if the guy's doing this in his second year, I mean, he's got guys believing. He's had a great recruiting class come in. He's got it rolling right now, I think. I hope he does get paid. I hope he does. I hope he stays.
Well, and as good as Pickett is, and he is outstanding, obviously, but I'm telling you, when you look at what Seth Lundy to me was the guy in the tournament for Penn State, when they needed either a clutch stop or a clutch shot,
stepped up big.
They had that guy consistently step up in a huge way. And he's just one of those guys that, like Pickett, just does a little bit of everything to keep you in the game. Regardless of how everything's going with the shots on a particular night. And I'm impressed with the way Jai's developing. He is starting to become you're seeing flashes. It's not a consistent, oh, man, this guy is the next big guy. But, man, he's doing enough here. Like throughout that tournament, there were little moments where it's like, oh, that was cool. And I think the obviously, this is a big year in and of itself, but I think the table is being set nicely here for this to be a recurring theme at Penn State, which we're just not used to because it's never happened at Penn State where, in a 5-year period, you can see this program making the tournament 3 or 4 years anyway in that 5-year span. And then, again, that's just something that we've never seen at Penn State.
Yeah, another name I want to throw out there, too, Evan Mahaffey is a guy that I've followed for years. He went to the same high school as me. His 8th grade, he came and shadowed me my senior year in high school there, and he told me he was going to the NBA that day. And I laughed at him and went back to geometry class. But nonetheless, kid is tough, plays hard on defense, has some upside offensively. I'm excited to see how he develops. Again, Shrewsbury has some pieces here to build now. So definitely excited to see what happens in the future.
Yeah, so speaking about building, Aeneas.
Okay, here we go.
Talk about the business and what happened.
Yeah,
I mean, did Clifford go to the combine?
Clifford was not invited to the combine.
Was he a combine arm though, or anything?
Nah, I don't think he did any of it. I think he's been saving up for pro day.
Okay.
He's excited about that. Obviously, we had a big acquisition. I work for Limitless NIL. I'm a co-founder there. So we kind of gotten our start here in Penn State with a bunch of student athletes around here. We've since expanded nationally. Had 50 clients now, went through an acquisition with Team Holdings based out of Philadelphia. They're more of a pro agency. We handle the NIL side of things. So, we're still handling the day-to-day. We're still looking to expand. But it's been a whole lot of fun, man. We'll have a lot more opportunity now with this new acquisition with some tech and some funds that we didn't have before. I think year one, we were able to make a lot of big strides. But at the same time, we were a bunch of broke college kids doing our best to pretend like, we had.
Not anymore.
Not anymore, man. So, it's been a journey. A lot of learning. I always said, I never saw myself going and getting a master's degree when I was a student athlete. This has changed my perspective on what I'm capable of, and also on a bigger picture, what student athletes are capable of. And I'm starting to see more student athletes thinking that way and seeing themselves as a business and, ultimately propelling themselves to a brighter future.
Who's paying for the Masters?
Oh, man. I may be paying for the Masters.
Yeah,
hopefully.
that's what I'm thinking, man.
It may be me, but that's okay.
Okay. When I came back, you're laughing at you thought you would never have a master's degree. I never thought I'd have a master's degree. I couldn't believe I got out of here the first time. But I came back and, it's 33 years old, and I got my master's. So, you never know where the world's gonna place you and what you're gonna be doing. So, you didn't think 5 years ago student athlete would be being paid, right?
No, not at all.
I sure
man.
as hell didn't.
Not at all. I'll tell you what, Mom would be a lot happier if I walked away with a master's degree one day, man.
Absolutely.
So I'm gonna do my best to make that happen for sure. For sure, man.
Well, all right. Aeneas, obviously, he and I do a show together, so I know a lot about his past. But his father was in the NFL with a lot of Penn State guys, and he's still involved with. What was your day to day with football? Nothing, right? You just know the guys.
Yeah, I'm still close with them. Last year, I would pop into workouts.
Correct.
I'd pop into practices. Now this is year 2 removed now. So I'm still invited to go, but I go a lot less. Still close with all those guys, representing a lot of them in the NIL space.
Now, what are you representing? What are you doing for them?
Yeah,
explain that to me.
Yeah, so we're a marketing agency. We, initially we're just doing brand deals, which was kind of the inception of NIL, what everybody was doing. We've since expanded a little bit. We still do the brand deals, but we're doing a lot of merchandising for kids now. We're doing a lot of the camp creation. Our whole thing is, NIL, can be perceived as a money grab and kind of selfish by nature. So what we try to do for the kids we represent is get them more involved in the community. We did an event for a thon recently. Anna Camden, who is a women's basketball player here,
Correct.
Obviously, has crushed her career. We're doing a Camden camp back home for her and her brother. So, getting kids involved, we think it's not only good for the community, but good for the student athletes themselves to kind of get them to understand the impact that they can have on these people who support them, so consistently.
You're working what age kids? All just college kids?
It's primarily college kids. A couple of the kids that we represented last year get ready to get drafted.
Okay.
Now,
they grow up from you to the pro aspect of your company now?
We never force that issue. We never try to, force them to continue to work with us when they go to the NFL. But what we've seen after year 1 is that most of them want us to handle their marketing still when they go to that level. And we're now actually starting to tap into the high school level a little bit too. We're kind of being cautious like everybody else. When you're dealing with 16, 17-year-olds, it can get a little bit dicey. So we're being selective about who we're working with on that aspect of things. Are
you dealing with them or mom and dad? Because
both.
They're probably the worst ones.
Yeah, so a lot of what I do, I'm the director of recruiting. So I have to manage expectations and kind of educate not just the kids at the high school level, but the parents as well. But again, it's something we take great pride in doing because, most high school parents and kids don't have any idea what they're getting into with athletics alone at the college level, let alone this NIL space, which is so brand new for everybody.
So you were lucky. You had your father who had been through the ringer, been through the college recruiting, the NFL, all of that stuff. So
and most kids don't come from that. They don't have that experience.
Absolutely no. So my brother, my oldest brother who came here, we none of them went to college. My mom and dad were blue collar people, and they come off the school and go to school. And then by the time I got here 8 years later, my parents were more worried about my education than anything. I'm like, what the hell's going on here? You let him do whatever the hell he wanted.
Right. They were vets at that point. They knew better.
But they get it and they understand it, and you do that, and then. You do a very good job of. I think that Penn State does a very good job of getting these kids acclimated quick to this type of thing because it can be overwhelming. Yeah. And I've told the story 100. You may have heard me tell the story on a TV show, Aeneas, that when my brother went to the NFL, that's a person like, hey, what do? You get $100,000 signing bonus. You're 21 years old. And I can't imagine if I got $20 million signing bonus at 21 years old. Yep. Who do you go to as your financial advisor? You go to your mom and dad. Right. My mom and dad never knew what the hell they were doing with that kind of money. Right. So, that money went away real fast. And then you really need to protect yourself. And these kids are getting it early from Penn State. And the fact that you guys can help them out and you guys have similar backgrounds and it's very nice for these kids. Yeah, man. I do think I agree with you. Penn State, in comparison to what's being done countrywide, does a great job of preparing their student athletes for whatever life may bring.
We're not all Micah Parsons getting $20 million contracts at 21 years old. But again, for whatever success or failures that your life brings, Penn State always does a good job of preparing its student athletes. And really, we go back to the point of limitless NIL. That's a big part of what we do. We feel like any adequate agency should be able to bring these superstar college athletes marketing deals, but we didn't feel like a lot of them were equipping them to be successful long-term and holistically developing them in terms of especially finances.
I'm literally, I just want to sit here and break your chops a little bit and say, do they know what April 15th is? Because that seems to be my biggest freaking concern for these guys.
Yeah.
Is that like $500 you got when you did an autograph show? That's taxed.
No doubt.
Somebody else is claiming that. So that's going to be, you need to prepare and protect these kids with that type of stuff.
Yeah. And I'll get off my limitless and I
want it. We're so dumb to it. I mean, we have a pretty good feel for it and stuff like that, but you're on the inside. I mean, how the infrastructure, the whole thing works, and it's insane.
Yeah.
So is there any money coming back to the ex-athletes?
Well, I'll tell you what, that's the next step.
Come on now. I want some money.
I'll start getting Goon here some NIL deals next.
Geez.
You might see him on some commercials coming up, man.
Hello, I'm Goon. I'm old.
I used to play.
I'm pretty sure I have CTE, so starting a Goon Fund Me account here.
Goon Fund Me. That's funny.
So how's my man Doc doing?
Yeah, Doc's doing well. I just talked to him on FaceTime yesterday, actually. He's doing well. Kid has continued to develop and get strong. He actually just signed with the WWE. I don't know if you knew that.
Him and Kirk Levitt.
Yep. So he signed with WWE. He's a brilliant kid. He's a hell of a football player. But realistically, in my opinion, his ceiling is so high off the field. His personality, obviously, you know who his dad was.
Absolutely.
That gene got handed directly to Nick Dawkins. You're going to see him as the WWE heavyweight champ here before it's all said and done.
You say you're FaceTiming him. Was he still here, right?
Yeah, but, those guys just got back from spring break.
Okay.
Before, spring ball starts today. Actually, I think, no doubt. Liam Clifford checked in for the Limitless NIL team meeting this morning and said he had spring ball, and I threw up in my mouth, too.
Oh, my God.
I'm like, man, rather you than me, bro.
Do you walk in Haluba and just smell it, and you're like, oh, God, your back starts to ache, your knees start barking?
I can't look at the building without having nightmares that same night.
Lord,
I can't even look at it, man.
I'm with you, man. Totally with you.
Yeah.
So whose idea was it? I know Clifford was a very astute business person. I think his dad is a business guy.
Yep.
Whose idea was all of this, or did it just fall in your laps like, oh, God, we should do this?
Yeah, it was Sean Clifford, man, because, again, year one of NIL, the kid, not to put his business out there, but it's documented online. He made six figures, year one NIL, worked with some of the big-time agencies to make that happen, and that's where it came from. He had experienced it himself, and, again, he didn't necessarily feel like, college kids were getting taken care of, and their best interest was in mind, and they were developing guys. So, then, fast forward a little bit, I was sitting on my couch February 1, hanging out, watching TV, and Cliff was like, hey, come over real quick. I got an idea, and that's where it started. From there, we started having meetings, planning, building, but it was Sean Clifford's idea, man. He doesn't get enough credit for being as brilliant as he is off of the field. Everybody wanted to focus on who he was as a quarterback. He's another guy who's geared up for success, especially in the business world.
There you go.
Yeah.
What are they saying for him? Obviously, free agent.
Yeah,
he'll get a shot somewhere, a camp arm type of thing.
Yeah, he's confident that he's going to get a good shot. He's benefiting from the fact
better to be undrafted at that position. To be honest with you, and you can pick and choose where you go.
No doubt about it. And at the end of the day, he's a guy that's going to have to fight for a roster spot, regardless of whether or not he gets drafted. He knows that. He's a competitor. He's had the benefit now of playing for several offensive coordinators in many different systems. So his advantage is the mental game. He's a quote-unquote rookie. The kid's 37 years old, man. So he's going to go in there as a veteran and handle himself that way, and I think he'll find more success than people are probably giving him credit for.
I'm glad you bust his balls like we do. That's very
no
nice.
Doubt,
very
man.
nice.
I keep it real. I do it to his face, too. It's not just for the show.
So my biggest concern the whole time with the NIL is the locker room dynamic. Have you heard of anything? Issues in the locker room, guys getting good money, but they're not worth it, and other guys are getting crap, and they're playing more. I mean, have you heard anything? Because it's coming.
Yeah,
it's coming.
At some point there will be an issue somewhere with those jealous feelings that often arise in young men. Especially when money starts getting brought to the table. But from what I've understood at this point is that there have been no issues, especially not at Penn State. Coach Franklin does a good job of not allowing it to become a distraction. The leaders on that team, especially last year, wouldn't allow it to be a distraction. And honestly, guys aren't fools. If a guy's getting paid more but he's not playing as much, it's probably because he's built a better brand on social media, and he's spent time doing that. So guys know at this point, they've educated themselves on how to, bolster their brand and bolster their ability to do deals with these businesses. And guys are honest with themselves. So I haven't seen that become an issue yet at all.
But it's not out there what guys are making, though.
No. I mean,
the NFL it is.
That's
your
the
dad
difference.
will tell you that every person in that locker room, all 53 guys, know exactly what the other 52 guys make, down to the penny.
To the penny.
And then they want to know why they're not getting that kind of money. And then it's crazy to think about. But it's just true. It's not the alpha male thing. It's just the business world, and when it meets the sports world, and you throw in money, and it gets crazy, man.
No doubt about it.
So I hope that there's never an issue, but I've heard of one that was going on with Spencer Rattler at Oklahoma, where he was taking a lot of this money, and he was running around, and nobody else was getting money and flaunting it, and then
Yeah, I mean, honestly,
they didn't block for him. Imagine that.
Yeah, imagine them doing that. But actually, what I've seen, obviously Spencer Rattler's situation is what it is, but I can remember even seeing C.J. Stroud and guys on that level taking their NIL and leveraging it for the guys on the team who don't have those opportunities. So,
the difference in C.J. Stroud and Paul Clifford, or I would say Sean Clifford, is a hamburger meal on Monday nights versus, a car. That's the difference in their tax bracket. So,
Oh, that's funny.
When you look at the team that Penn State does have coming back on field, how excited are you to see what this program can do next season? Because it feels like that next step may be finally coming.
Yeah, man. I'll tell you what, talent-wise, I have not been a part of a roster. I've been here since 2018, seen a lot of guys get drafted and get drafted high. This is the most talented top-to-bottom roster that Franklin's had. I don't know if you remember, but last year he kept hammering away in the media and the press conferences that he needed to build depth, and you guys were going to see that. He did that last year, and now what he has the luxury of is a bunch of young guys who have played a lot of football. Obviously, everybody's going to point to Drew Allar in that running back room, but I look across the board and see young talent everywhere. That defensive end room, ladies and gentlemen, is going to be one of the best in America, and I would bet the house on that. They got a lot of talent everywhere. Yep. The question to me becomes, you lost probably the best leadership group that Penn State's had since that 2016, 2017 type of time period. I think about Jair Brown, Sean Clifford's, PJ Mustapher's, guys who were kind of unsung heroes of that team and the unquestioned leaders. So my question now is, who's going to step up? Who are the guys going to be? Because somebody's going to need to lead the group. There's a lot of pressure on a lot of young guys. So somebody's going to need to step up and maintain control of that room.
I agree. I mean, I was telling you the other night when we were watching the Hoops game about how much Tig reminded me of Alan Zamitis. I mean, the Zamitis guys were afraid of him because he would drop, he would go. I mean, you got a problem. He's gonna say something or straighten your ass up.
Yep.
Michael Robinson, Alan Zamitis, and then they had Puzz.
Yep.
So Puzz goes into his senior year. Those guys graduate, and Puzz was a 2-time captain, and Puzz was not a rah-rah guy.
Yep.
That was the problem. That was one of the issues we ran into because he never had to actually be a physical leader because he could lead by the way he played on the field. But because he had Michael Robinson on offense and then Alan Samitis on defense, and he didn't have to do that. So he struggled with that a little bit. But somebody always will step up into that role. But
no doubt about
it. Just that one dinner we had with Tig that night, I could not. I mean.
Yeah.
The respect that he gave off to the other guys that they were giving him, and the way you were talking about him, and other guys talk about him.
Yep, outstanding.
Dude has it, man.
Oh, he's got the gift, man. And I'll tell you what. Obviously, we had another guy, Jaquan Brisker, who had a terrific rookie year. But Jair Brown, in terms of leadership and leadership style, has always stood out to me as a guy who can be special. He'll be a captain of whatever team he plays on within the first 3 years. That's just who he is. We had guys who were kind of quiet storm guys. I think about Nick Tarburton. I think about Jonathan Sutherland. Jonathan Sutherland, I heard probably say 2 sentences in 6 years. And that kid, nobody ever tried him or disrespected him because they knew he was about his business. I think it'll be a balance of that this year. Somebody will step up. And the cool thing about Coach Franklin, I got to give him credit for, he is good at putting his best players in positions where they have to lead. He's going to make them uncomfortable during winter workouts, during spring ball, and make them step up. And that's what it is. Leaders are developed. And I think Franklin is as good as it comes in terms of doing that.
Yeah, and I think that, that camaraderie is always, I think, such an underrated component to a team being able to achieve,
100%.
the ultimate goals out there. And regardless of who the leaders are this year, I think that that this team still has to be benefiting from seeing the leadership that was provided last year. Like, there is a real benefit to that. And you're seeing it with the basketball team. How many guys did we hear mentioned, Goon, throughout especially this last couple of weeks of the season, John Harrar, and how important he was to laying the foundation for this team.
No doubt.
You know, the success that next year's team has, whatever it is, and obviously we're hoping it's through the roof, but it will have been laid by the guys that we've been talking about here. There's no doubt about it.
No doubt. I think about a guy like Drew Allar specifically. You know, I remember, the coaching staff getting a lot of flack for keeping Sean Clifford in games as long as they would, not giving Drew Allar more burn. But I'll tell you what, if you ask Drew right now, I bet you he'd tell you he learned more than he ever could have without Sean Clifford having been there. There are a lot of positions like that young safety room that people are asking questions about. They had the benefit of playing behind Jaquan Brisker and Jair Brown for years. I guarantee you Keaton Ellis is ready to step up and be that guy.
And that's what I said this season in my Rose Bowl prediction and season prediction after, hanging with Aeneas and knowing him and knowing these guys on the team and getting a pretty good feel for them. And that was our 93 team. Our 92 team was a bunch of punks. We didn't, they had a bunch of guys who didn't want to be there. Were more worried about their draft status than anything. 93, we didn't have great team, but we had great leadership.
Yeah.
And they taught us how to do it, and then it carried over to 94. And I believe that this season coming up is going to be a good 94 type of year. This is the year that they're going to run to the playoffs, in my opinion, if not win the whole damn thing.
Yeah.
That's my opinion, and you can tell me differently, Aeneas. It's to the point where it's like, is it if Franklin doesn't get to the playoff this year, is it considered a down season and a bad season for him?
Well, I'll tell you what, he is.
The expectation's pretty damn high right now.
It's a high expectation. I don't necessarily think it's a failure if they don't make it there, but that is the standard. And I know for a fact that is what Coach Franklin and that team has their eyes on. Whether or not the public perceives it as a failure, I know intrinsically they will. They're working towards that. Their roster, again, man, is deep, and they're talented at every position. I even look at, some of the spots that people have questions about, like defensive tackle. There is so much young talent in that room. That room, in my opinion, is more loaded right now than it's been, again, since 2018. There are a bunch of guys in that room who will get drafted. So, again, I have no doubt that they'll take that next step. I know Franklin is going to challenge them to do that. And another guy I want to give credit to, who just completely took the torch and ran with it from Dwight Galt, Chuck Losey has those guys as big, strong, and athletic as they've ever been. His program has been really beneficial for a lot of guys, and I think that's another important factor for them taking that next step to a national championship.
But I saw the Philadelphia Card show this past weekend, and Abdul Carter was down there.
Come on now.
Jesus, man. I was like, what the hell happened to him?
Been hanging out with Chuck Losey, man. That's the Chuck Losey regime.
I'm telling you, he looks like he's 245, 250, and jacked and stacked big.
Yeah.
Looked like Frank Gore sitting there. That's why he looked like that big of a dude.
Yeah.
Well, and
I was like, God.
That is the thing to me that you're looking for the football team this year is, and we've talked about it going all the time, that you see with on the wrestling team, right? Like a guy like Aaron Brooks, who came in at an all-world level, has taken leaps each season. I mean, and perceptible. I mean, you can see, oh my gosh, as good as this guy was, he won a national title. He's much better this year, and again this year. And I think, you couldn't help but notice that Abdul Carter is a pretty darn good football player if you were paying any attention last season. But if that guy makes a leap, right, like jumps levels, like we're talking about, you're talking about an All-American at linebacker. And I think, you start going through that, Nick Singleton certainly has that and Allen both have that type of ability to be next level good. And if all of these guys that we're talking about take another leap in their ability from where they were a year ago, again, it's hard not to have those expectations. And, it's something that James Franklin doesn't shy away from. He came in here saying we're going to dominate the state in recruiting. He wants to be the first black head coach who wins a national title. He's not shying away from the expectations. And, he's taken some flack from it. But, as I've said, whether you state it publicly or not, you show me the person who's won a national title who didn't first tell himself, I'm going to go win a national title, or a team or a coach that didn't have a frame, in place with the goal of being the best. Again, there are plenty that will try to be the best that won't get there, but there is nobody that doesn't try to be the best that gets there. Like you can't possibly win a national title if it's not your goal. If your goal is to be, we're hoping we can be, in the top 3 in the conference, you're not winning a national title. That's just not the way that works.
Correct. And I think another thing I want to kind of hit on too, to kind of couple off that, I think James Franklin will be the first black head coach to win a national title, whether it's this year or down the line. And I think one of the things that people should really be excited about is the fact that they have both Mike Yurcich and Manny Diaz back.
Yeah,
I was a big believer that Manny Diaz may get another opportunity. Even Yurcich could get an opportunity to have those two back yet again. I'll use Georgia as an example. Just watching their defense play football, you can tell those guys know that system like the back of their hand.
Yes.
It is second nature for them. So for the offense and the defense to both come back in with something that they've worked on and drilled, those repetitions add up, man. And you'll start to see that on film on Saturdays.
I'm looking forward to it, man.
And as I think the benefit there, too, is twofold. One, players now know what the expectation is from those coaches, but also now the coaches have a much better feel for the personnel, the areas that need to be worked on, the areas of strength that they can capitalize on. And that I do think that is significant when you can get that type of consistency from one season to the next. And there's a reason why the expectations are high for the upcoming season. But, it does start with obviously the work that's being done starting this week with getting everybody in just the right frame of mind and obviously in the right physical condition as well to give you a chance for that success when the fall rolls around.
Yep.
I think we'll take another break here, and we'll be back. Troy Allen, I think, will join you guys, and I'll duck out for a little bit.
Roll off into the sunset.
There you go.
Well, all right.
Make more good in the all-new Sportage X-Pro. Kia, movement that inspires.
Quaker Steak and Lube is throwing open the garage doors and setting up the umbrellas. It's patio season. Come enjoy great food, drinks, and fun in the sun. There's always something happening at Quaker Steak and Lube, but we're really amping up our event calendars for our favorite time of year. Visit thelube.com to find out what's happening at your local lube this season. Lunch, happy hour, dinner, or late night, indoors or outside, at Quaker Steak and Lube, you'll always find big flavors, friendly faces, and lots of fun.
What's the best mid-size pickup? Tacoma. What's the #1 mid-size truck in resale value? Tacoma. Want to get great gas mileage, 4 doors, and 4-wheel drive? Tacoma. Sioka Toyota of Williamsport has over 25 available right now. You can lease a brand new, never-driven Toyota Tacoma for just $379 a month. That's 30 months, 3,000 cash or trade, 10,000 miles a year. This is while supplies last. Buy yours or reserve yours today and see the Sioka difference. And remember, tell them Johnny sent you.
Hey, welcome back to the Lion Country Goon and Ironhead show with Goon and Troy Allen. What's up, big boy? How are you?
What's going on, brother? How are you?
I'm doing well, man. Doing well. Just, we're out at this wrestling thing, so we're taping these shows on Monday. So we're talking about this past weekend's experiences with, obviously, the basketball team with just a great run that they had, and going into next week with the wrestling program, continuing their momentum, and then, I know you're my baseball guy, a former Atlanta Brave, draft pick of the Braves and
many moons ago.
Yeah, we got to talk about a lot of stuff to talk about this. Do you like the World Baseball Championship?
I'm not a huge fan of it. I'll be honest. That's what the Olympics is for, and for whatever reason, it never really worked in the Olympic format. I think at this point, these guys should be focusing on their teams that they're getting paid millions for. So, I enjoy it. It's good baseball, but I don't think it has its place, in the middle of a major league season.
Yeah, you're talking about spring training and stuff, and that's the biggest thing, and that is, but it's different than spring training 50 years ago. NFL football, just training camps have been changed, because guys are coming in ready to go. Is that a difference nowadays versus?
It is a difference in terms of like the sports performance arena has changed from when I played in the late 90s to where, they were using spring training to get into shape.
Yes.
Whereas nowadays, guys come in ready to go, but there's chemistry and camaraderie that needs to be built in spring training.
Correct.
For minor league guys, they probably love the World Baseball Classic because a lot of times they get to move up. Like one of my own players got the pitch for the Giants last night because some of the pitchers are in the World Baseball Classic, and so from that standpoint, it's great. But like, it takes time to build chemistry. Like with free agency, you're getting guys coming in and out.
I didn't think about that. You have 25 guys on the USA roster. There's 25 guys in spring training who are getting reps.
Correct.
And that's good.
That is, it's good for development of your younger talent for sure.
But you still want to have your JT Realmuto in the locker room and your Kyle Schwarber in the locker room type of thing.
Especially these guys, they're typically the leaders on their team.
Yeah.
So how can you, build the camaraderie that you need and the culture that you need without your main guys being there to help guide it.
So we were talking earlier about spring football, and just the thought of it made me and Aeneas were both like started gagging because the thought of how bad spring practice was. But baseball wasn't that bad for spring training, right?
That's the only part that I still miss.
Because that's around the guys and you're just balling all day.
Yeah, and you've got the legends of an organization coming in and out.
That's pretty cool.
You
told me you were with Hank Aaron and all them, right?
Yep, Hank Aaron, Frank Howard. That's something that can't really be described, but like I don't miss, the day-to-day regular season at all. Don't even think about it. But whenever people start talking about pitchers and catchers report, I think about that. Spring training was the best part of baseball to me. It's you just play, and you get the opportunity to play different levels. Like I got to play in a AAA game and face Dwight Gooden. Right before I retired, and so you just don't get those opportunities every day. But it's kind of random stuff happens in spring training. So, for me, I loved it.
Yeah, I know. We were talking last week. I think we were watching the Pirates-Phillies game in a preseason, a spring training game, and we were talking. I mean, you were happy with the rule changes, upset with the rule changes, a little bit of both either way. So I said, well, you got to come on the air and talk about this because it is getting it from your perspective is like getting offensive line play perspective from me, you know?
Right. So the biggest change is really the clock.
Yes.
And so, having been a hitter, I know that I hated the pitchers that kept the pressure on me, right? Whether it was quick pitch or, just being ready to go and consistently attacking me. And so I've been training baseball players for 20 years, and I've always told my pitchers that hitters hate when you attack them consistently and you're doing it with a tempo. And I've been saying that for years. So, the first weekend of college baseball, one of my trainees was he's the number one at Penn State, and he was facing Miami. And he was moving I wasn't even thinking about the clock, but he was moving at a pace that I loved. And then it occurred to me that they had put the clock in as well. And I was watching an interview with Miami's coach, and he basically called this pitcher Bush League because he was ready to go the moment, the batter stepped in the box. And I know hitters hate it. So, I was enjoying watching him keep the pressure on, and then I was kind of miffed that, this guy calls him Bush League when everybody's supposed to be doing that. Like,
yeah.
You're the coach of Miami. If, these are the real changes, then your guys should have been ready for that.
Correct.
So the one rule I don't like is the bigger bases. I don't know why that even needed to be addressed. So you think about how close the everyday steal and throw out is. They basically gave the advantage to the runners, and maybe that's because they're trying to increase the scoring in the game. But there's just certain things that I think need to be left alone. It's the pace of the play didn't necessarily bother me, but I understood it, and I understood why they put the clock in. I don't understand the reason for the bases.
So Ironhead had a pretty good damn point a couple weeks ago. And he was talking about people sit and watch football for 3 hours. Don't complain about the
correct,
but then they'll complain about baseball being so long and taking so long to play.
But I don't think baseball's an acquired taste. Like
always has been.
Always has been. So those
little kids grow up in Little League. You either love it or you hate it.
Correct. And it's the people that don't have the love for the game that typically say it's because it's too slow. Okay, well then it's not the sport for you. Like the game is not suffering from fans. Like, if your ballpark isn't full, you probably have a terrible product. Baseball has its niche, and the pace of play I'm cool with, but all these other changes, I'm not sure that it matters any. And I guess they're talking about going to the automatic umpire at some point, and I think
I'm not a fan of that at all. Not even
neither.
1 freaking %.
Me neither.
But there is just so much like our equivalent in football. Like I was talking about the Super Bowl.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, the last 2 years they let the guys play. So for 3.5 quarters, these guys played football, and they were going pretty damn hard at it, and they were letting some stuff go, and then. I don't know why, but they decide late in the fourth quarter that they're going to start making every call.
Yeah.
So I say it's like baseball when the umpire's calling that high strike or the low outside off the plate a little bit, right?
Yep.
You're a hitter. You know that. You know you got to cover that.
You're right.
And a pitcher's going to go after it. Going to see how far he'll go.
Yep.
And then for the umpire to change in the 7th inning, that's when guys get run because they get so mad.
Yep.
And just be consistent. That's all you ask as a baseball player.
Exactly. And umpires have been a part of the game forever. And their strike zones.
Bad umpires have been there forever. Good umpires have been there forever too.
Correct. And so at the major league level, I've coached from youth all the way through high school. And the umpires are obviously pretty wretched. When the pay's not good. But these guys are actually pretty damn good. Like you have your outliers. But for the most part, they're pretty damn good. And, there's not a big enough difference in umpire to umpire to where, going with the automatic umpire makes a difference. Like, I just think that completely changes the integrity of the game.
Yeah.
So.
I mean, in football, you can call hold every play.
Yeah.
You can call illegal hands to the face every play.
Yep. Exactly.
But why do you call it at certain times of the game? I don't know. Unless it's egregious and has a distinct, outcome of the outcome of the play was changed because of that.
Right.
I'm good with that.
Right.
But I mean,
there are certain things that are just inherent in the game, and I think you just got to leave the umpire mistakes as what they are. Now, I say that, but the other night that guy that rung up the batter on a because he was pissed, ran up the batter on that ball that was way outside and low.
That's a fireable offense, in my opinion.
Well, he got suspended, rightfully so. He didn't help the argument any by doing that, but I think most people probably understand that he was completely out of line. But again, that's just an outlier. Most umpires are pretty consistent, and even if they're consistently not giving up the inside or outside,
they can be consistently bad, but you can work with that.
You got to adjust to it. That's exactly
you
right.
adjust to it, and you realize, but you just got to be consistent with it, and that's the bottom freaking line.
Yeah.
That's the one that drives me absolutely crazy.
Yeah, I'm hoping that one doesn't get approved. Let's leave it at what they've done. It's been knocking off. Minor League instituted it last year, and it's shaved off about a half hour out of the game. That's fine. Let's leave it at that, and because at the end of the day, I think a lot of pitchers have taken way too long to deliver the ball. And so, that absolutely slows down the pace of the game. So I'm in favor of that one.
I came into the show and didn't even think about the bases, by the way.
Yeah.
And that's going to have about maybe one call a game that'll be coming into play. I mean, so you're what, 3 inches bigger?
Uh-huh.
So those bang-bang plays, they're going to go towards the runner now.
And most are bang-bang.
Yeah.
And so now they got a bigger base. Well, they said they were trying to increase the scoring. I just don't think that that's necessary.
God, I mean, dude, I'm a Facebook guy, Twitter guy, so I see all these different historical facts come out about Ricky Henderson.
Yep.
Dude, what and like you talk about baseball being the same game it was. It's not the same baseball game as the 70s and 80s.
No, but again, so like
the guys, the base stealing thing is just out of control.
Yeah, so the game has changed in that sports performance became a thing and motion analysis became a thing. Like the way the game was played originally when Ricky Henderson was coming up, it was a lot of the AstroTurf like the vet and basically where you hit it on the ground, that second bounce, if you don't get it by that second bounce, it's through. And it was called small ball. And a lot of the ways hitting was taught was geared towards small ball. But now that physics and motion analysis and everything has evolved, the game has changed. It's not so much small ball where you're getting a lot of steals but that's just natural evolution. The pitch clock is going to essentially probably decrease the batting averages. So I'm assuming their thought process was, well, then we have to make the bases bigger so that the guys that do get on, it's easier for them to score. I'm not sure. It doesn't quite make sense to me when you bounce it off of the pitch clock. I think they could have made the pitch clock the only adjustment and the game would have been just fine.
Mm-hmm.
And I personally don't like seeing high-scoring games. And I think most true baseball fans don't like seeing high-scoring games. They'd rather see the, nail-biter 1-0s, 2-0s. Probably one of the most exciting things in baseball is the no-hitter. Right? So, I'd like to change. I'm just not sure how it's going to change the game overall or the fan experience other than, the game's quicker. But
even what we just said about if you don't like it as a kid, you're not going to like it as an adult.
No.
I understand that, but the people who do like it, again, goes back to a lot of the stuff in this world right now. Who was complaining? No one was really complaining.
Nobody.
I mean,
it's the casual fan. Well, I don't want to go to the game
because of what? Because it's too loud. It's too much crap going on. I mean,
the only complaint that I think you can generally make about the professional game is the cost to attend the professional game.
Still cheapest of the four sports.
It is
by far.
It is, but that's they're all out of control. I mean, a $10 beer is nothing.
Well, the ticket prices I'm talking now. Now we're not talking about the condiment or the
concessions.
Concessions, my lord, you're right.
Yeah, I mean it's all of it though. Like so if you're a casual,
you don't want a watered down draft flat beer? Come on, man. That's got Veteran Stadium 1990 written all over it, baby.
It does. Yes, it does. And actually, I was at a hockey game a couple weeks ago, and the beers were $16. No, I'll pass. I just personally can't justify it, but I think to the casual fan, if the game is long and that's your cost to be invested in it, maybe it all adds up. But I just think they need to stop tinkering with the game before they completely ruin the integrity of the game in general.
Well, I mean, I have seriously an honest damn question for you. I mean, they outlawed tobacco use in minor leagues.
Yep.
Years ago.
Yep.
We're talking 15, 20 years ago, probably, right?
You got it. That happened.
They're all still dipping. They're all still chewing.
Yeah.
When they get to the major league, so it's not changing it.
It's not. I mean, there's so much double talk in the sport. They're still not testing for certain drugs that are absolutely prevalent still in the game. They claim to be testing for HCG, and they're pretty obvious about when your tests are coming. And if you're on HCG, you can only get popped within the first 3 days. And so you're going to get tested when you first get to spring training. You're going to get tested when you first get to wherever you're going. You're going to get tested when you first get to wherever you're going. and then you're going to get tested if you make the postseason. Other than that, you don't get tested. So, like, if you know those are your time frames, how is that really random or unannounced? And so, guys, I can look at guys and tell whether they're on it or not, because there's.
But what is this drug?
HCG. It's
HCG.
Remember the cream and the clear?
Yeah.
I forget which was which, but one of them was HCG. So
and they still don't test for it?
They test for it, but you got to catch them within 3 days of taking it, right? So
you could be on. Is it a cycle thing or is it just like a daily thing?
Not a cycle in the way you're thinking about it, but you can use it for 3 months and then you take a month off and then go back on it.
Is that prescribed that way, or you just do it all the time?
Yeah, it's prescribed that way. They tell you that that's how you should use it. And
so if baseball season is 5 months long, what do you do?
Well, you're doing it in the off season. You're doing it in the off season, and then you basically have to stop 3 days before you get to spring training.
Okay.
And
you
probably
pick back up.
Probably lay off it during spring training because you're going to get tested.
Correct.
The first week you get
at
to
the
wherever
big
you're
club.
going. Yep.
Or any club, yeah.
Any club. And then after that, you can use it all summer. And if it looks like your team's going to make postseason, then you have to back off it before postseason.
Jeez.
They like to claim it's random and unannounced, but it's false. And so, then there's the whole amphetamine issue.
That's been going on since the 60s. So,
yeah. I mean, you walk into any clubhouse in June, usually mid-June is when the amphetamine coffee comes out. Most people, going on office and that orange pot of coffee means decaf. Well, you go into a minor league clubhouse of any sort.
The black lid, the orange lid is
this is the juice.
This is the go-go juice.
This is the go-go juice.
Now,
you
need that type of stuff, man.
Nobody will admit to it, but we all did it.
But what the hell? What are they doing? They're melting. I mean, putting them in there,
breaking the capsules up, and putting the powder in the coffee
instead of just doing taking the capsule.
Yeah.
Now, what is that? I mean, you guys do it every day.
There's no way you can get through it without.
That's what I'm saying. It's amazing the amount of time baseball players have and the amount of non-down. The downtime is like if you're a backup, or starting pitcher, you have 4 days of you're doing nothing but tomfoolery in the dugouts.
Yeah, well, it's actually longer than that.
Always just crazy dudes. They're always the relief pitchers.
Yeah, I mean it's I can't speak to how the season progresses for a pitcher, but as a position player, especially like in minor league baseball, like our games would be at 7:00. We would have to report to the ballpark at 2 for early work. And then you have all your traditional, and early work is early work for BP, early work for fielding. So that's 2.5 hours. And then you have your regular infield, outfield. Then you have your game. You're not getting home till 10:30, 11, grabbing Subway or whatever's open, falling asleep. You sleep in till 9 or 10, get up, eat, and then you're at the yard again. And so you're in minor league baseball, we only got one off day a month. So,
a month.
And so, and that sometimes that off day would be a travel day where you're on the bus the whole day. And, we were sleeping, I had 4 other roommates in a 2-bedroom. But then like at a hotel, in one room, we would have 5 guys. All
this for a $300 paycheck a month, buddy.
$750 before taxes. I heard it's up to $1,000 now before taxes.
A month.
Now,
explain to me how this doesn't make money for major league programs to have minor leagues.
I haven't quite figured that one out yet. I haven't. I'm trying to understand why they were losing, unless the pay is coming directly from the minor league owner. But I don't know that is the truth. I honestly have never been able to figure out how these teams were losing so much money, unless it's just the cost of operating a ballpark, which does fall on the owner. The club is paying the players, so it can't be that. So it must be just the cost of
crazy to think of, Bub.
It is, man, and the short season, which is typically where rookies went, that was, you needed that to get acclimated, and now you're either jumping right into a full season, which presents its own challenges, or you're down at the minor league park all summer, sweating in the heat, doing lifting and running, and just I like
tough game to get into, bud.
It is. I like the old system better.
It is a truly worldwide game. You're competing with guys from around the world.
It is, but you got to love the game too.
You did.
I loved playing it. I didn't love it enough to grind. You know where I grew up.
Of course.
So I like my space. The crowding in the bedrooms, like that wasn't my thing, but you had to because you couldn't afford it otherwise. I won't eat at a Waffle House today ever again because that's all we could afford. I only stay in Marriott type properties because I just can't do it anymore. Like I said, I don't miss anything about the game at all other than spring training. Like the rest of it, you can keep.
I always sit there on Saturday drinking a beer outside of the tailgate saying, "No, I missed this," but you don't. You miss the 7 or the 12 or 13 Saturdays is what you miss. You don't miss the other 350 days.
In basketball, I miss every single thing about basketball every day of my life. But baseball, I just don't have that connection.
You can watch basketball still?
I can watch basketball. I don't
Pro basketball?
I've never been a true NBA fan.
Okay.
It's always been college for me in high school, but I wish I was still playing.
It's a hell of a weekend we just had this past one.
You know what, man? When you watch the way Penn State played, especially down the stretch, and then for them to have that game be as close as it was last night when that kid was an absolute freak show in the paint, you feel bad for him, but at the same time, you couldn't expect to do much better than that when you don't have another 7'4" presence in there to stop that.
He's
dude.
doing it to anybody.
That's right.
We were getting posted up by Indiana, for God's sakes, and they were only 6'10" and 6'11".
Correct.
It's been our Achilles heel the last year when losing Harar last year. And Harar was 6'9", so what's he going to do? He was going to be fighting with Edie yesterday. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah, Edie wouldn't have had his way, and the freshman kid's going to be great.
Yep.
But he wasn't ready to deal with that.
The hell, the NBA, he's going to go in the.
He's going to make a lot.
Is he going to? We know he's going to go to the NBA, but is he going to thrive there?
Yeah. So he's only been playing 4 years, 5 years.
He was a basketball player.
Hockey. Yeah. So he's only been playing 5 years, and they said
hockey and baseball.
Hockey and baseball. Yeah.
He's a pitcher.
Yep. And they said he actively seeks out instruction to make his game better. So when I was watching him yesterday, because that was the first time I really watched him, full well he's going to go get tutored by Akeem Olajuwon, like most big men do.
Mm-hmm.
And if his learning curve is that steep and he wants that knowledge, man, if he gets any piece of that game,
give it to him in this. Because I remember him watching him last year and being like, this guy's a complete stiff. He was horrible. And then to this year, being the NCAA Player of the Year, the Naismith Award winner.
Yeah.
Just amazing turnaround. If he can make that kind of improvement, but you know as well as I do, when you stop growing, your athleticism catches up to you.
Correct.
Because before you're long, lanky, and this and that, and then all of a sudden you stop growing, you're actually, okay, now I can start packing muscle on and grow from here.
Yep.
But you and I just can not stop growing since we got taller, so that's the issue we have now.
I blame mine on beer.
Beer?
Yeah.
Oh, jeez. I don't even know what that is. My Lord, how can you say that?
But no, the point's right. So, I was thinking about him and Shaq at the same age, right? Shaq was probably more of a physical presence than him.
God, yes.
But Shaq also was way more coordinated, he had been that height for a while.
And the strength.
But this guy's a better shooter.
Well, Well, that's what I'm saying. The NBA game is different. We were talking last week. Like Embiid's the only one in the league who can play because he can.
As a big man,
got to be able to play in the 3-point line. I mean,
yeah,
that guy. You're going to put Edey up the chart to guard Joel Embiid. He'll go around him every time.
Yeah, Embiid would be somebody that would give him challenges, but like Jokic,
yep,
that's probably somebody that he could guard. So he might be the type of player where, he changes the game a little bit back in the other direction because there's not necessarily going to be anybody that can stop him either. So, you think of a team that might play a slower paced game, like take Clippers, for example. You put him on the Clippers with those guys. Well, now they've got the outside, opportunity, and they got the, a banger in the middle. Well, that changes the perspective a little bit.
Okay.
And when you run into a team like, you think about playoffs, the game slows down a lot in playoffs, right? Well, what would Warriors do with, facing off against a kid from Purdue? They would struggle. And so and he may his effectiveness might even be limited to just the playoffs, and he's only marginal during the regular season. But that guy, if he gets with Olajuwon and he is the learner that they say he is, well, that's a whole different freak show we've never seen.
Okay.
So, I like his chances. I think you got to take a shot on that kid. I don't know if he's top 5 pick, but you got to take a shot with him.
7'4", you can't hide from that, homie.
No,
sir. So, all right, what do you got this year at PSU baseball?
I love what they're doing. I think it took Coop a while to get the type of players that he wanted. And I do have a couple players on that particular team, so I get to hear a lot of the inside stuff. But I think he's finally got the team that he wants to have, and they're still pretty young. But taking one off Miami right out the chute,
yeah, that's nice.
That's a pretty big deal. They've got 2 pretty solid starters to start the weekend off, and they got some experienced guys behind them. But I love what they're doing. They are unafraid, and they like each other, which I think is something new that he hadn't had before. They're a pretty tight group. And I've always said, there's only 2 coaches that I personally would want to play for. One is my coach who's at Wake Forest now. His name's Tom Walter, and Coop would be the other. He understands players, and he's passionate about the game. He's very fair, not one of those guys, drill sergeant type coaches. So I think they're on the upswing. I think they have some challenges coming, not related to their own program, but I love what they're doing. They're going to be able to compete and certainly do better in the Big Ten, I think, than they did last year, which was the first year in a while. So a lot of those guys returned. They're hungry, and I think it bodes well for how well their season goes.
Well, all right, man.
Yep. So I'm excited.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Looking forward to, we had Aeneas on earlier. We got you on, looking, when Jeff and I got to go away or whatnot, have some guys fill in like you and Aeneas.
Sure.
So love to have you. Like talking to you, Bubba. Good times.
Amen, brother. Amen.
We'll be in touch, man.
All right, bro.
So we'll be back after. These are taped this week, but next week we'll be live after the coming back from Tulsa from hopefully winning another national title for wrestling and Cale Sanderson. So Lion Country Kia show, Goon and Ironhead show. Check it out. Talk to you later.
Make more good in the all-new Sportage X Pro. Kia, movement that inspires.
Quaker Steak and Lube is throwing open the garage doors and setting up the umbrellas. It's patio season. Come enjoy great food, drinks, and fun in the sun. There's always something happening at Quaker Steak and Lube, but we're really amping up our event calendars for our favorite time of year. Visit thelube.com to find out what's happening at your local lube this season. Lunch, happy hour, dinner, or late night, indoors or outside, at Quaker Steak and Lube, you'll always find big flavors, friendly faces, and lots of fun.
What's the best mid-size pickup? Tacoma. What's the number one mid-size truck in resale value? Tacoma. Want to get great gas mileage, 4 doors, and 4-wheel drive? Tacoma. Sioka Toyota of Williamsport has over 25 available right now. You can lease a brand new, never-driven Toyota Tacoma for just $379 a month. That's 30 months, 3,000 cash or trade, 10,000 miles a year. This is while supplies last. Buy yours or reserve yours today and see the Sioka difference. And remember, tell them Johnny